After completing the domestic treble last season, how do Manchester City get any better? Well, football moves forward, so should they. In the next few minutes, I'm going to look at how they could potentially line up next season as they prepare to defend the FA Cup, the League Cup, and the Premier League. First off, we'll start with the goalkeeper, of course, and it's going to be Ederson. There's no real change there because Claudio Bravo is good enough, and Ederson is one of the best in the world. It's a common theme with every single top team. They have a quality, consistent goalkeeper, and Ederson is just that. Not only is he adept at keeping the ball out of the net, but he's also brilliant when it comes to the counter-attack. With the ball at his feet, he is exactly what Pep Guardiola expects from a goalkeeper, and so will definitely be in the #1 spot. To the right back position though, in this 4-3-3 formation, and an interesting battle could develop for that spot with Karl Walker and a potential new signing for Manchester City. João Cancelo is the man on their radar after Danilo looks to be leaving the club. Now, Cancelo only signed for Juventus 1 year ago, but if he's going to be offered a big deal under Pep Guardiola, I can see him moving. With Karl Walker, he is a top defender. We've seen it over the last few years, but he's pretty much better at going forward than he is defensively. This has meant that Man City have often been a little bit caught out on that right-hand side, with Walker using his pace to get back and cover for his mistakes. In João Cancelo, they may not get the best attacking fullback, but they'll get someone who's a little bit more defensively sound. If Cancelo comes in the club, you can see them both getting equal game time, but I think Karl Walker just edges it at the moment. Of course, this will change throughout the season, but Walker has been their tried and trusted right back for the last 2 Premier League title victories, so I think he'll be starting the season in that position. So into the centre of defence now, and there's one spot which is an absolute certainty, and that goes to Aymeric Laporte. In the Frenchman, they have one of the best centre-backs in the division. He's incredibly good in the air, great physicality, can definitely play with the ball at his feet, and is good for an important goal or two. There's no doubt in my mind that he'll be at the heart of City's defence for the next few years at least. Certainly, he's on the right path to replacing club legend Vincent Kompany. As for Nicolas Otamendi, well, not only is he a crazy player whose erratic streak can often lead to him making a ridiculous mistake, but he also looks to be on his way out of the club and back to Valencia, so we're ruling him out of the running. But it's alongside Laporte where things get a little bit interesting. Now, I have mentioned that Vincent Kompany has left the club. He is now the playing manager at Anderlecht. Otamendi looks to be heading back to Valencia, so who's going to be playing alongside Laporte? Well, it could be Leonardo Bonucci. Now, most of you are going to throw in John Stones straight away, and don't get me wrong, I think the Englishman is a top defender, but he hasn't quite progressed how Manchester City would have wanted. When he joined from Everton 3 seasons ago, it was all about John Stones being a great ball-playing defender. Yes, he's young and he's got a few mistakes in him, but he'll eventually mature and grow out of it. 3 years later, and I'm not quite sure he has. If his last few performances for England are anything to go by, he definitely isn't the defender that Manchester City would have hoped when they shelled out almost 50 million for him. I do think that he has a future at Manchester City, and he is a great centre-back, just not as good as the likes of Leonardo Bonucci. You're asking why he's going to leave Juventus? Well, 3 words: Matthias de Ligt. If there counts as a word, that is. But with a 19-year-old signing at Juventus, with Chiellini being one of the top centre-backs in Europe still, Bonucci is going to struggle to find minutes. Juventus aren't going to sell Rugani because he's a good prospect for the future. Chiellini, they're not going to get much money for him. So with Bonucci at 32 years old, they're going to get a decent amount, and they're not going to be losing a key part of their team, no matter how well he's performed for them over the past few seasons. If that doesn't happen, of course, I'm sure Stones will fill in well, but I think Guardiola could do no worse than bring in another experienced centre-back like Bonucci. So completing the defensive lineup in the left-back spot is new man Angelino. I say new man, he actually just rejoined the club after a year at PSV, but I really think he's going to be the starting fullback. He's a great example of when young kids don't get any football, they go out and play their football elsewhere. He had a fantastic season with PSV in the Eredivisie and in the Champions League, and now has come back a much better player. The reason I think he'll start, well, there's 2 contenders to his role. First off is Zinchenko. Performed admirably in that left-hand side and has signed a new deal with the club, but I'm not quite sure has what it takes to take it to the next level. Alongside this is Benjamin Mendy, who I do think is the best left-back of the club, but just can't stay off the injury table. Since joining from Monaco 2 seasons ago, he's made 17 Premier League appearances. That's 17 Premier League appearances out of a potential 76. Meaning he's missed a hell of a lot of games and he just can't be relied upon to be fit and to be able to start. That is where Angelino has come in, and I think he'll be the starting left back. But moving into the midfield now from one new signing to another, but actually, before we get into that, just a quick reminder for you guys to smash that subscribe button. We are so close to reaching 300k, and it means a massive amount for all of you who do subscribe to the channel, so thank you in advance. but we'll be getting back straight into the midfield now, and it's new signing Rodri who is definitely going to be taking that spot. Fernandinho has been brilliant for Manchester City, don't get me wrong. The 34-year-old is literally the perfect counterbalance to all of City's fantastic play, but when you bring in someone for 63 million, a club record signing, and who's 11 years younger than Fernandinho, he's definitely going to start. Rodri is a brilliant player. He's shown it at Atletico Madrid in the last season and at Villarreal before that. He's got great physicality, he's brilliant on the ball, and his vision make him excellent, not only when stopping the play ahead of time, but also when keeping the move going and playing the right balls at the right moment. This is going to be key, how quickly Manchester City can get the ball from defence into their main attacking players, and Rodri is definitely going to help with that. I can for sure see him starting in the midfield. So the two other central players in the City midfield, and one of them, again, much like Benjamin Mendy, if he stays fit, is guaranteed to start. It's Kevin De Bruyne. He is such a phenomenal player that even when he's injured and then comes back, he's straight back into the action with a goal and an assist or a pre-assist, or just basically having a fantastic game. There are very few players in the world who could bring what the Belgian can to the midfield, and even though Ilkay Gundogan has his day, I'm not quite sure he's going to be starting ahead of De Bruyne. If De Bruyne is fit, that is. As for Fabian Delph, he's just made a move to Everton after clearly seeing that his minutes are going to be limited. Alongside him in the centre of midfield is a player whose role has changed within the last few years at the club, but he has been one of the best players this decade and potentially one of the best foreign signings that a Premier League team has ever made. At 33 years old, it's David Silva. Now, it is a testament to him that at his age, and having said that he's going to be his last season at Manchester City, he is still going to be a regular starter. On the ball, there are very few playmakers like him in world football, and the best thing about it is that he's going to have Phil Foden to take his place, who he can teach so much. The Stockport-born Manchester City fan, Phil Foden, is a brilliant talent for the future, and if he can get minutes on the pitch, learning alongside David Silva in training and from in the games, well, City are going to have an absolute gem on their hands in the next few years. It seems like the perfect passing of the midfield torch from David Silva to Phil Foden. So with the midfield three of De Bruyne, David Silva and Rodri, who's going to be in this attacking lineup? Well, from David Silva to his namesake Bernardo, the Portuguese player just has to be in there. On the right-hand side, he's got all the skill and eye for a pass and a goal that a central player would, but also all the work rate and acceleration and speed that a winger should have. Bernardo Silva, for good reason, was the name mentioned alongside the likes of Raheem Sterling and Virgil van Dijk when it came to naming everyone's player of the year last season, because he was so consistent for Manchester City throughout all competitions throughout the whole year. With everything going so well for Bernardo Silva, it obviously means that Riyad Mahrez won't get as many minutes on the pitch. At best, you can hope for Bernardo Silva to be injured, because you all know when he's playing, he's going to be consistent and he's going to be brilliant, so Mahrez may not get on the pitch that much. He could switch to the other side, but I think over there, the competition is even fiercer, starting with Raheem Sterling. With 25 goals and 18 assists in all competition, it's fair to say that Raheem Sterling had a stellar season. He also picked up every domestic trophy, as did the rest of the Manchester City squad. In Sterling, City have got a fantastic individual, but also someone who's gelled into part of the team really well. The connection he has with the likes of De Bruyne, both Silvas and Sergio Agero makes him a vital part of this team. Of course, competing for the left-hand spot is Leroy Sonic, who is an equally good player, but it looks like he may be on his way out. Bayern Munich have been interested in the German, and although 100 million may be enough to put them off, Sane's future is less than clear at the Etihad Stadium. Obviously, for Pep Guardiola, this is a pretty good selection headache to have. Sterling or Sane. I can't think of many managers who have that many good left wingers to choose from. But just pipping him to the post is going to be Raheem Sterling. There's no way you can look past him. He's becoming a talisman for his club and his country. But one selection headache that Pep Guardiola definitely does not have is that for the striking role. Of course, it's Sergio Agero. Now, don't get me wrong, I know there's only two players, him and Jesus, who are vying for the role, but when it comes to the Brazilian, he's just not in the same level as Sergio Agero. Of course, it's super difficult to be as good as someone who is the club's record goal scorer and shows no signs of slowing down, but I just don't think anyway that Jesus has got what it takes. He could be a brilliant footballer, and if he moves to a team where he's going to be the star man, where he's going to play every single game, I'm sure he'll blossom into one of the top strikers in the world, but he's just not going to be able to do that at Manchester City. He's either got to hang around for Aguero to get injured or show signs of decline into his 30s, but as I mentioned before, Aguero's just not doing that. he is still a phenomenal striker, can do everything that a central forward should be able to do. And when it comes to Guardiola and his relationship, even though it's not been great in the past, he's still going to pick him every single time. In fact, this is a question for you guys. Let's say Sergio Agero gets injured, Gabriel Jesus is in fine form, banging in the goals, and it comes to Manchester City's biggest game of the season, let's say the Champions League final. Do you pick an informed Gabriel Jesus or a fully fit but hasn't recently played Sergio Agero? For me, there's only one answer. It's got to be Aguero. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on that and the rest of the team selection. Let me know who you think Manchester City should bring in, who should be starting in this 11, and how they'll fare next season when they're defending all of those trophies. Of course, whilst you're down in the comment section, you can also smash the like button. But until next time, I will see you guys later.